And what's your background?
I was born and raised in Waco, Texas. My age is 78. I was born in 1934. And my background was I was married at 16, got a divorce. I was out of Christ. Then I went into the Air Force. I spent 4 years in the Air Force. And after I left the Air Force, I came to San Francisco because I had some relatives here. And I stayed in San Francisco till 1961. During that period that I was there, I met my present wife, Sister Ernestine. And we've been married for 52 years. And so I've had a great life. And after 1961, we moved to East Palo Alto. We stayed there until approximately 4 years before that I moved to San Mateo. In exact years, I know it was, at the time I'm making this, it was about 4 years to 5 years ago. I can't remember the exact date. And so here we are in San Mateo now, and I moved here when we sold our house for two reasons. One, to be closer to the church, where I could get my work done better. And the other reason was to sell my house and try to put some money. The church was never able to give me and my wife retirement. So when we sold our house, we put a little money away especially for her retirement. And that's my greatest concern.
Okay.
And so here I am today.
Okay, wonderful.
A few years later, 78 years later. Okay.
What do you remember about your mother and father?
Very little about my father, because my mother and father was not, when I got old enough to know my father, they were not together. I used to visit him during summer months. But my mother played a great part in how I deal with people today. My mother was a great person for loving people. She loved to help people. She loved to do things for people. She used to, she had a cafe there in Waco, and once a month or so that she would invite maybe 20 of the young guys that's out to the Army base, and she'd give them a good home-cooked meal, all of them. But that's what she was, a very kind person, and a lot of that rolled off on me. I tried to live that type of life and what I saw in her. That was before I was a Christian. Okay. But she's very kind, very, very kind. I can't say that too many times to everybody. Okay. That's basically what I know. She worked very hard. She had her own business and things like that. So, but that's the main thing that I know about her. That's what captured me about her. Okay.
How old were you when you called on God?
When I did what?
When you called on God.
On God? Well, let me give you a little background. My mother was a Methodist, so I went to the Methodist church with her. So naturally they wanted to baptize you. But their baptism was putting a bowl up under your head and then pouring water over your head. For some reason that didn't set too good with me. I didn't know why. I really didn't know why. So I wanted to be baptized. I've seen pictures of people being baptized. That's what I wanted. So I said, well, there got to be somebody to do that. So when I got out the Air Force and came to San Francisco, I found this Baptist church. And the closest thing to baptism was the Baptist church because of the name. And they baptized me. Now, that sufficed up until the early 60s, 60, 61, somewhere around there. And when I first got connected to God was when Brother J.M. Butler of the Church of Christ set me down in a Bible class, in a home Bible class, and let me ask my questions and said, let's see what the Bible say. And every time he'd go to the Bible and bring him out. That's when I really knew that that's where I wanted to be. And I suppose that was the moment that I was going to truly start seeking God.
How old were you?
60 from, oh wait a minute, that's not the way to go about that. Okay. I was about 31.
I'm going to switch questions now. What is your favorite scripture?
My favorite picture?
Scripture.
Scripture? Whew. I got so many favorites. I think the one that really can stand out for me is Romans 8, which says all things work together for good to them that love the Lord, those that are called according to His purpose. What that does for me is show that God is always working in our lives to keep us safe. No matter what we do, whether it's bad or good, He will orchestrate it so it'll turn out good for us as His children when we are trying to do the best we can do. Okay, there are many others, but that one let me know that God is always working for me,
And
working with me, keeping me straight, keeping me going, whatever you want to say about it.
Okay. And your favorite book?
The Bible. That's the only one I study now. I don't read nothing now. Every so often I read a clip or something in a book we have in class, but it has to do with Bible too.
What's your favorite hymn?
My favorite pet?
Hymn.
Hymn? Without You, Lord.
Can you sing it?
Oh, no. And that's not one of my things.
Okay. What?
You can have Peter to sing it whenever you show it.
What qualities does Brother Mark have that make him the perfect candidate?
God had something to do with this, I believe. You want the story? I'd had 2 young men before to come and try out to be the minister with me. They were both nice young men, still nice young men. It wasn't sin that did it. It was just that I wasn't able to, and the elders wasn't able to move them in a direction in terms of getting to know the congregation as a whole, especially the older members. So it was no sin, the reason why that they didn't make it here. But what happened, I found out the story. You want the story, how I got Mark? Sister Josephine Woods, go to church at San Francisco, at Revere Street. This is in real estate. Some kind of way, she and Sister Spring Atwater got hooked up together. And the workplace that Mark was working in was closing down in North Carolina. And they was going to move to California. Mark didn't know whether he wanted to come to California or not. He liked North Carolina. So he decided to try it. So when he decided to try to come, he said, well, do you know where your company is going to be? He told her, and she said, well, let me tell you where I would like for you to go if you go there. Go to the Westside Church of Christ and meet Brother Fred Crayton. And that's what he did. That's how we got it. To me, that was the providence of God. Because all the other young men, we reached out to them to ask them to come. But Mark, we didn't. He just came. And when he came, he made it very clear that he looked for a long time. He said, if I had found out that Christ wasn't being taught here, I was gone. I said, okay, that's a good enough idea. So then what happened is that we began to get involved. So even before we baptized him, he was making his rounds around all the members, getting to know them. Something I hadn't asked him to do. He was doing it. And then he got involved with the young folks. And then he got involved with the real young people. He got the marching group out of all that, and that takes precision and training for young men to be able to do that like that. And I said, well, I started looking at this guy. And he goes down to the every Saturday morning. You have teams. They give out breakfast. He's there every Saturday morning. I think he missed his password, but he don't miss them all often. And so he's there helping every team. He grab a mop, bucket, just like everybody else. I mean, the most minimal job he's willing to do. And so I said, well, Mark, what you do? He said, man, all I want to do is work for the Lord, whatever it is. I said, okay, that's good. So then he came to me one day, just out of the blue, and said, Brother Crayton, do you ever have any time where if a young brother wanted to come and study with you, would you give him that time? I said, certainly. He said, I'd like to come over to your house on Mondays, and we study together. And I want to bring a sermon or two by that time to you to see how you think I did putting them together, stuff like that. So we studied a lot. We corrected a lot. We studied a lot. And it came out that, make a long story short, he just became my choice. And I told the brothers what my choice was, the elders. The first thing I did was give him a try in the pulpit. Well, naturally, as young as he was in the gospel, I was questioning about that. And I said, it's my responsibility. If something go wrong, I'm the one that's responsible. So he did good the first time he preached. And I said, brothers, got anything to say that? Well, we weren't trying to question you. I said, yeah, okay. He did good, didn't he? Yeah, okay. And that's it. And from then on, I eventually asked him, would he like to take this position with me? I think God sent him here to do that. And he said, I love what he did at that point. He said, let me bring my wife over and we'll talk about it. Okay? He wasn't going to do anything without his wife. I love that idea. And she asked me a bunch of questions. She's pretty smart too. I answered her questions satisfactorily and she was okay with it. She said, okay. And so it became final. I had told the elders it would probably be about 2 years before I ordained him. But he moved so fast, did things so well, he's such a good learner, in such an humble spirit. And he has a lot to offer the congregation, a lot. And I didn't see the need to wait 2 years. I was questioning about that. I said, well, I'm not God. I can't say what the time's going to be. I can say my expectations or my desires, but things may change because of the circumstances around. And the circumstances did change, and that's how quick learning he is. He travels with me when we go down to Carl's and teach. He travels with me to the VA to teach. When I'm having my Bible class with a non-Christian at the church, he want to be there. He's always learning. Always learning. Okay. So.
Give me some characteristics of Brother Mark that make him the perfect candidate.
He's a good listener. He has humility. I was telling some people that asked me about this and our leadership somewhat, that when I'm looking at a person, I'm not looking at how much scripture he knows. You can learn scripture. Okay, and he had sat with me to try to learn. What the main thing that I look for is the humility of the person and their willingness to learn what they don't know. Those are two of the main issues that help me make my choice about him. Now, he's a good guy in many other ways, but we're talking about for his position. For that position, that's what a man has to be. He has to be humble, and he's got to be a good listener. If you got that, I can work with the rest of it.
Okay. What area, as a minister, are you most passionate about?
Evangelism. There is no other area but evangelism. Everything leads to evangelism. Everything. Christ showed us that.
What are your short-term and long-term goals for Westside?
I don't know either one. because I don't know how short I'm going to be here or how long I'm going to be here. But my goal for Westside is I hope that I can get everybody involved eventually in having the mind of an evangelism work in their life. If I can get every member to do that, you'll see how fast we will grow and how fast God will bless us for doing that. Christ came in Luke 19:10 to seek and save the lost. That's the only reason he's here, or he came. He's not here now, but that was the only reason he came here, was to seek and save the lost. He had no other interest in anything else. He healed, he fed, but his whole desire by doing that was serving people to get them to listen to his message. And his message is always about evangelism.
When you prepare to walk daily in the Spirit, how do you prepare?
Well, sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, but prayer is always a good way to start everything. Sometimes I get a thought in my mind and I don't pray. And I'm sitting down to do my lesson and I get started and I say, God, I didn't pray to God. I need his help in this lesson. So I'll stop and pray. Send your spirit upon me to guide me in preparing this lesson. Okay? So preparation should always be with God in mind. Should always be with God in mind. Okay? And that's talking to him about what you're fixing to do. Okay? I try to be reminded of that when I have to reprimand somebody about something they've done. I try to pray so that they'll know that I love them and I care for them and I'm coming for their best interest and I'm not mad and upset.
Last question.
Okay.
If and when Brother Mark hits a rough patch in his walk in the future, what resources or what scripture or what advice do you have for him?
If he takes, I didn't get to understand.
If he hits a rough patch in the future, or if he is looking
rough time in
right,
the future.
What advice? What?
Well, I have several scriptures that I can deal with, and one of them is James chapter 1. That's one of my favorite scriptures, and how to deal with when you have problems and a lot of things that go wrong with you and things like that. James says those things are helpful to you. They are not there to tear you down. Satan used them to tear you down. God used them to build you up. He said they are there to give you patience. And if you're going to be a minister, believe me, one of the things you're going to have is patience. So that would be one of the scriptures that I would talk to him about. And I would sit him down and probably talk to him about several other scriptures. But I would say that would be one of the main ones. That we have to look at God telling us, if you belong to me, don't worry about this. This is just going to make you stronger.
Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to say to Brother Mark?
Say to who?
Brother Mark.
Love you, brother. Glad you're on my team. Let's do this thing for the Lord. And let's get us all to work here the way we should be. All right?